Dun 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 dun! Welcome back. It's me, Mr. Lewis, again here with you on my recorded video. This is Chapter 3, Section 3, Animal Behavior. All right, again, welcome to your bell ringer. Go ahead and read this and answer it up there on Edmodo. I'll give you a second. And let's get ready to rumble. Today, our objectives are going to be to explain the difference between learned and innate behavior, describe 5 kinds of behaviors that help animals survive, and identify I don't know what I was going to say. Identify seasonal behaviors that help animals adapt to the environment. Dun dun dun, bam. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several types of behaviors that we have, that animals have. All right. The first thing, we're going to talk about innate and learned behavior. So today, we'll start off with innate behavior. Innate behavior is the type of behavior that you don't learn. All right. It doesn't depend on learning. It's something that you inherit. It's something that you just know how to do naturally because you just do it. One of the examples in your book talks about is that bowerbird on the bottom of the page of 78 right there. It always collects colorful objects for its nest. All right. Now the male bowerbird does. Now, the reason for that is just something that was brought into its genes. It's just something that they typically do. They bring colorful things into their nest. All right, that's an example of innate behavior. It didn't learn it from anybody. No other bowerbird taught it how to do that. It's just something that it learned how to do. Okay, that is an innate, not learned. It's something that was brought into its genes. I'm sorry, it was not learned. It was brought. It was inherited. So that is innate behavior. The next is going to be our learned behavior. Now, learned behaviors can be modified. Learned behaviors are behaviors that we learn from watching something else, or that we learn because somebody taught us. An example of that would be our speech. Okay, speech would be a learned behavior simply because we all speak different languages. All right, we all have different dialects. That is a learned behavior. We learn how to speak from our parents. We watch our parents, we listen to our parents and our teachers help us to learn how to speak and how to communicate effectively. Now, those are the 2 different kinds of behavior. Now, there's also survival behaviors, and if I'm not mistaken, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types of survival behaviors, and we will get started with those. The very first one, what do you think would be? What do you think? What do you think the first survival behavior? Think about that. We need to have a behavior that's going to help us survive. The very first one would be, bam, finding food. All right. Whenever we're looking at any of these animals, whether it's us or any other kind of animal, the first thing is we have to be able to find food. Because without food, we don't eat. We're not plants. We can't create our own food. So we're not producers. We can't create our own food. We depend on producers and we depend on other things in order to get our food. So we all have adaptations, or we all have that survival behavior to get food. All right. Now, some of us are predators. Some of us are prey. Predators are those that eat other animals. Prey are those that are being eaten by other animals. So when you think about that, and let's talk about us as humans for a second, let's think about that. Are we predators or are we prey? Well, do we eat other animals? Yes, we do. We're at the top of the food chain. Do other animals naturally eat us? And the answer is no. Can other animals eat us? Yes, but we are a predator, but we can be a prey at times, like if a great shark. We've just heard here recently of all the shark attacks along the Atlantic coast down there in Florida and North Carolina, where all the sharks are biting people. We know about bear attacks and lions and all that kind of stuff in Africa. We know about that kind of stuff, and those animals do eat us. But we are not their main source of food. It's just a matter of, hey, there's a human, looks good. Oh, no, I better not go by any of those things because they'll see me and say, oh, look at that big old tasty meal. But that's a predator and a prey. Predators are the ones eating the animals, and the prey is the one getting eaten. Now, the next thing is all animals have a tendency to mark their territory. And what does that mean? What that means is they basically are claiming a territory. They say, this is mine. All right, you and I do that as well. At your house, when you're sitting at your house, you have an area that is yours typically, and that's your bedroom. You know, you see in the movies how the kids always write, "Do not enter," and I did that as a kid also. Sean's area only, do not enter. So that is the same thing. That is us as animals claiming our territory. You do the same thing with your house. That is your house. You don't want anything to come in that area into your house that does not belong or is not invited. Same thing with our school. Our school is the same thing. This is where you belong, but we don't want outsiders to come in here and mess up the school. We get kind of upset if outsiders come out here and mess up the school. So there are other places, other things that we can do. Um, uh, for marking territory. And other animals like birds and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, those things go out and mark their territory as well. A lot of these animals, almost all animals, mark their territory. So this is my territory. Now, obviously, you see what territory means. It's right there on the screen for you. Now, the next thing is our defensive action. Now, some animals do things like being able to hide themselves. Some animals do things like spray chemicals and stuff. Some animals do all kinds of things like that to defend themselves. They have to have some way to defend themselves. We also are looking to defend our food. We want to defend our mates. We want to defend our offspring. So if you think about that, if someone's trying to take your food, or you're going to say, "Hey, this is mine," you're not going to take mine. You're going to fight them from trying to take your food. If someone's trying to take your boyfriend or your girlfriend, all right, you're going to be upset and you're going to do whatever you can to defend your mate. Also, your offspring, if you have children later on in life, in your 30s and stuff, when you have children after you're out of college, when you have children, you're going to do whatever you can to defend your children as well, because you don't want anyone else to attack or to harm your children. Now, we also have courtship. Animals have to reproduce. Remember, animals reproduce sexually. Okay, so in order for us to reproduce, we have to find a male and a female. Those two have to mate in order to create a new individual. Okay, so the courtship routine, a lot of animals go through a certain courtship routine. Actually, all animals go through a courtship routine. They reproduce sexually, and the reason for that is they have to find that mate. Now, what happens if you're the ugly duckling and you can't find a mate? Well, guess what? You don't get to reproduce. All right, so that is how some genes end up dying off, and other genes begin to be propagated because the courtship routine is going good for that certain individual. I was lucky that Angie found me, because otherwise I'd be very lonely. All right, next is parenting. All right, many of the young animals depend on their parents for survival. Remember, we're talking, these are all survival behaviors. So parenting, the animals have to depend on the parents to help show them how to do things. All right, a lot of animals the offspring stay with the parents for anywhere from a couple months through a couple years. And for you guys, you stay with your parents until you're 18, and the parents are always teaching you how to become better people, or at least they should be teaching you how to become a better person. All right, that would be the end of our survival behavior. Now, there's also a thing called seasonal behavior, and seasonal behavior sounds exactly like what it's talking about. It is seasonal. It's something that happens during a season. One of those things is migration. All right. With migration, some animals travel from the north to the south in the wintertime. Some animals do that because they're looking for food, they're looking for water, looking for safe nesting grounds. They're doing that because those things are gone in the north in the wintertime, so they got to move further south so they can go ahead and get the better environment. We also have hibernation. And hibernation is a period of inactivity and decreased body temperature that some animals experience in winter. Hibernation is winter. Notice here it says that bears do not enter deep hibernation, only hibernate for short periods of time. Because bears don't sleep the entire winter, although that's typically what we think of, but they sleep for rather short periods of time. Their body does shut down, but they don't go into real deep hibernation where they sleep for the entire winter. All right. There's also a hibernation that happens during the summertime, and that's called estivation. So if it happens in the summer months, it's estivation. If it's happening in the winter months, it's called hibernation. Now, we also have things called a biological clock. Now, biological clock controls all of our internal things. Some of us use them for daily cycles, when to get up in the morning, when to go to sleep. If you're working nights, then your biological clock is flipped because you're up at night and sleep during the day. They help us to regulate our temperatures and stuff like that based off of the time of day and time of season that we're going through. All right. Guess what? It is review time. It's time for the review. I'll go ahead and leave this up here for a couple seconds so you guys can go ahead and read it. and then I will finish up the video. Hey, guess what? That's the end of the chapter 3.3 video. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Be ready. Continue on with the great stuff that we're doing here in science, and I'll be seeing you in the future.